seemingly indestructible, which has made the Toyota Hilux a truck of choice in war zones around the world, including by ISIS. Their propaganda videos show convoys made up mostly of Toyota Hilux pickups and Land Cruisers.
U.S. counterterrorism officials asking, why are ISIS fighters driving so many similar trucks, and where are they getting them from? Look at these images. ISIS fighters riding in Toyota pickups and Toyota Land Cruisers. Authorities now asking the automaker, can they help officials figure out why ISIS has so many Toyotas?
Look, ISIS got started through funding from our friends and allies, because as people will tell you in the region, if you want somebody who will fight to the death against Hezbollah, you don't put out a recruiting poster and say, you know, sign up for us, we're going to make a better world. You go after zealots and you go after these religious fundamentalists. That's who fights Hezbollah.
We have been fighting alongside al-Qaeda, fighting alongside ISIS. ISIS is now emboldened in 2 countries. But here's the anomaly. We're with ISIS in Syria. We're on the same side of the war.
When we started the war on terror after 9/11, it was essentially a war against al-Qaeda and similar organizations. We have gone full circle from opposing al-Qaeda, complete circle to where we now supply them, we arm them, we finance them, and it's all coming with the approval of the highest authorities in the United States government.
I think every American would be surprised to know that for years our government has been providing both direct and indirect support to these armed militant groups who are working directly with or even under the command of terrorist groups like al-Qaeda and ISIS, all in their effort and fight to overthrow the Syrian government. Our bill does a simple thing, and it says that our taxpayer dollars should not be used.
They already reject ISIL. Do you know any major Arab ally that embraces ISIL?
I know major Arab allies who fund them.
I mean, it was very clear what we were going to face.
Well, I admire your frankness on this subject.
Very clear what we were going to face.
Let me just, before we move on, just to clarify once more. You are basically saying that even in government at the time, you knew those groups were around, you saw this analysis, and you were arguing against it. But who wasn't listening?
I think the administration.
The administration turned a blind eye to your analysis.
I don't know if they turned a blind eye. I think it was a decision. I think it was a willful decision.
Hillary Clinton has described already the meeting in the White House over 2 years ago. Everyone in the national security team recommended arming ISIS.
Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Saudi Arabia, Qatar, other Gulf states, Turkey, Jordan, ourselves, Britain, France, all fund, train, support, and ultimately are responsible for these monsters running around in their latest branded name, ISIS, which I will repeat a 3rd time stands for Israeli Secret Intelligence Service.
Hi, this is Joseph from the Israel Advocacy Movement. On Sunday, I happened across a vigil for the victims of the recent ISIS bombing in Karada, Iraq. As I was stood there, thinking about the senseless loss of life at the hands of ISIS, a woman recognized that I was Jewish and came running over to tell me that ISIS were in fact Jewish, and this was a Jewish bombing in Iraq. While I'm sure most people on this anti-ISIS demonstration didn't share this view, scarily, a number of them did, and were only too quick to tell me this.
No, I have evidence.
You have evidence that ISIS is Israel? Zionist. I am a Zionist.
When they get injured,
can I suggest
I tell you one.
Can I suggest
give me one.
For your sake, can I just record this, please? For one sake. For one sake. For your sake.
There
is a report.
There is a report. Just discuss it.
And the source of the report. I'm sorry. Can I just record this, please? Because I really want to get this.
Israeli minister, yeah? You don't believe in Israeli minister?
He's gone on the news.
Let's look. Look what he's saying.
And they're saying that they provide medical assistance to them.
And you would have Iran run Syria, a horrible prospect for us, or Daesh, which is also there, touching our borders on the Golan. When 2 of your enemies are fighting each other, I don't say strengthen one or the other. I say weaken both, or at least don't intervene, which is what I've done. I've not intervened. I have acted several years ago, and I think I was the first country to do that, to put a military hospital 10 yards away from our border with the Golan, with Syria.
Okay, you say no preference. There have been reports that Israel has been treating wounded Syrian rebel fighters in its hospitals on the border, including fighters from Nusra Front, which is, of course, the al-Qaeda proxy in Syria. Do those reports worry you that Israel's helping wounded al-Qaeda-aligned fighters?
As I said before, in a different context, it's always useful also to deal with your enemies in a humane way.
ISIS is beheading Muslims and Christians, then receiving medical treatment from Israel. If they were attacking Jews, they would not be receiving medical treatment. The former director of Mossad goes on television claiming that these psychopaths who are beheading people deserve humane treatment because they have never attacked Israel.
Al-Qaeda, to the best of my recollection, has up to now not attacked Israel.
But it's attacked your number one ally and protector and sponsor, the United States of America. There is a quote-unquote war on terror being going on for 15 years.
The only time they attacked Israel was by accident, and they apologized, which former Defense Minister Moshe Alon publicly admitted. When ISIS attacks superpowers like France or Britain, they don't apologize. Why do they travel thousands of miles to kill civilians in Europe, when Israel is just a couple miles away? ISIS actually explained why it's not attacking Israel. The Islamic State said in its weekly newspaper that it has not focused on attacking Israel because it does not believe the Palestinian cause is more significant than other issues affecting Muslims. ISIS is burning Palestinian flags. ISIS is beheading and raping Palestinians. An ISIS leader was arrested in Libya and was discovered to be a Mossad agent.
You tell the story about how you tried to find out what they call the Mossad when they deal with publicly?
I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS.
It's not Israel's battle, it's your battle. It's the battle of France. Because it's the same battle. If they succeed here, if Israel is the one that's blamed here and not the terrorists, if we don't stand together, then this terror plague will come to you. It's just a question of time. It will come to you, it will come to France.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told French Jews Saturday, after 17 people were killed there during 3 days of Islamist attacks, that Israel is their home. In a televised statement, Netanyahu said, "To all the Jews of France, all the Jews of Europe, I would like to say that Israel is not just the place in whose direction you pray. The state of Israel is your home." Media sources say that Netanyahu has also ordered a ministerial committee to convene next week to discuss ways to encourage immigration of French and other European Jews to Israel.
ISIS and Israel both attack Palestinians. ISIS attacks Syrian forces. Israel airstrikes Syrian forces. ISIS attacks Hezbollah. Israel airstrikes Hezbollah. ISIS attacks all of Israel's enemies regularly, but has never attacked Israel. Israel is supposedly the only democracy in the Middle East, with Western values, and freedom that these people hate. While serving as defense minister, Moshe Alon said that he prefers ISIS, terrorists that are going around beheading people, to be in control of Syria, instead of the Syrian government who is allied with Iran. The Israeli government wants ISIS to keep destabilizing Syria and continue pushing refugees to Europe. In 2015, Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman publicly called for disloyal Israeli Arabs to be beheaded. That is essentially what ISIS is doing. After Yalon resigned, Netanyahu asked Lieberman to become the new defense minister, and he accepted.
Professor, you suggested a rather controversial idea that ISIL, for example, which operates both in Syria and in Iraq, should be weakened but still should be kept alive as a strategic tool that would allow to put pressure on what you call bad guys. And by bad guys, you mean Iran, Hezbollah, but also Syria and Russia. If that's indeed the strategy, do you think we then will have to accept the attacks like the one that happened in Manchester a short while ago as an attendant cost of it?
Well, first of all, I'm happy you are reading my articles. It's true that I have advocated that the campaign against ISIS is problematic because we are weakening an anti-Iranian actor in the region, and also we undermine the ability of the opposition forces in Syria to end this Assad regime. What I'm saying simply is to save our efforts vis-à-vis ISIS and concentrate on the larger threat, which is Iran.
So do I understand you correctly that within your framework, the 22 people who died in Manchester were, collateral damage to that strategy? It's terrible, but people are dying in large numbers in the Middle East, so something like that will have to be accepted.
Professor Ephraim Inbar actually published an article for an Israeli think tank claiming that the destruction of ISIS is a strategic mistake. While acknowledging ISIS has killed thousands, taking over cities and beheading people on video, in his mind, the continuing existence of ISIS serves a strategic purpose because they are breaking down Syria. Breaking down the Arab states is Israeli strategic thinking. The 1982 Oded Yanon plan has undoubtedly been aided by ISIS.
Any arrangement that is struck in Syria, if one is achievable, I'm not sure. I'm not sure Humpty Dumpty can be put back together again.
Remember when I went to Paris in November and I asked just random Muslims on the street who did the terrorist attacks in that city? Half the Muslims I asked said they thought the Jews were behind it. Remember this?
Est-ce que Daesh musulman?
Non, Daesh pour moi c'est juif. Juif, t'es raciste les juifs.
Vous êtes sérieuse?
Oui, sérieux, oui.
All right, enough talk about Jews, but you can see my point. Anti-Semitism is raging back in Europe. Not white anti-Semitism, Muslim anti-Semitism.
I am Roman Catholic. You do not speak in the name of me. You do not speak. That is Islamic because there's nothing Islamic about them, but the Islamic State kills Muslims and Christians. The Zionist state kills Muslims